Hello, hello, hello. We are back, and today we are discussing Chapter 11, Lesson 1, solving two-step equations. So whenever you solve equations, remember equations always have an equal sign that separates an equation into two sides, the left side and the right side, okay? So when you solve equations that have one operation, you use inverse operations to isolate the variable. That means you want to get the variable by itself so you can figure out what it is. So let's go ahead and talk about some inverse operations. So remember, the inverse operation of addition is subtraction. The inverse operation of multiplication is division. The inverse operation of a squared number, which you'll learn soon enough, will be a square root, or a cube number is a cube root. That's enough for right now. But the more you learn about math, the more inverse operations that they're out there, and they just keep going and going and going. So you can use inverse operations to solve equations that have more than one operation, which would be something like this. So let's go back here first. So we have n plus 7 equals 15. So right now, we want to figure out what n is. Is n by itself on this side of the equation? No, it's not. So we have to, well, what's on the same side? 7's on the same side. Well, we need to get rid of the 7. How is the 7 related to n? Well, it's related through addition. It's a positive 7. So we have to do the inverse operation of a positive, which would be a negative. So we're just going to simply subtract 7 to both sides of the equation. And remember, the equal sign separates the equation into two sides, a left side and a right side. So this positive 7, that negative 7 cancel each other out, and we're left with n. And now we have n isolated on this side of the equation, which is great. And then we just go 15 minus 7, which is 8. And there you have it. There's our answer. N equals 8. So you can do this same idea when you have multiple operations. So we still have an equation sign. The equal sign still separates this equation into two sides. This is the left side, and this is the right side. We are still trying to determine what x is. That means we need to isolate x. We need to get x by itself. But if you look, this is a little bit more complicated than one up here. This one was just plus 7, right? But this one is 2x plus 3, I'm sorry. So it has a plus 3, and it has a 2x, which means 2 multiplied by x. Now, whenever I'm doing this, one thing you want to remember is whatever is, so there's two steps here. So which one do you do first? Do you do the addition or do you do the multiplication? And what I like to remember is sometimes I just draw a circle around the x right here with the 2. And that's going to stay together the longest, okay? So, so anyways, sometimes I like to think like, oh, the 2 and the x, they're kind of dating, and this is like the third wheel out there. And usually sometimes if kids like each other, and they'll kind of go off in a group, and then they'll just be that third person out there. So I don't know. That makes me sometimes remember. So this person here, they usually, kind of get kicked out of the way. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to kick this person, this number 3, out of the way. And to do that, we're going to figure out how is 3 related to 2x. Well, it's related through addition, so we're going to do the inverse operation, which is subtraction to both sides. So we have 2x, we got 23 minus 3, that's 20. And now it's just the 2 and the x. And now, these are two individuals, and we're still trying to figure out what this x is. And now it's time for this 2 to go home, okay? So it's the end of the night, 2, you got to go home. So we have to figure out how 2 is related to x. It's related through not addition, but multiplication. So we have to do the inverse operation of multiplication, which would be division. So we're going to divide both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 times x is just x. And there we have it. We're left with x equals 20 divided by 2, which is 10. So there we go. That's how we do those. Now, with these types of equations, we are always going to check our answer. Check our answer to make sure that this number that we found as our solution is correct. And how to do that is you stick that number back into the original equation. So the first thing we're going to do is actually write down that original equation. 2x plus 3 equals 23. So I want to see this on your notes. I want to see this on all the papers. Write the original equation on the check first. Write the original equation. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Dragon or Mrs. Dragon or whatever you are. I'm not sure. Anyways, so now we wrote the original equation. We're going to stick 10 in for x. So we're going to go 2. When it's 2x, that means 2 times x plus 3 equals 23. And I like to really, this isn't a great job, but I like to keep my equal signs lined up. It just keep right straight. Take pride in your work. And then so this side is done. It's just, equals 23. But over here I have multiplication and addition, so I need to do the order of operations, which states I have to do a multiplication first. So 2 times 10 is 20 plus 3, and then that's just 23 equals 23. And this is a true statement. Yes, 23 does equal 23, which means that 10, x equaling 10, is the answer to the original equation. So that's what that means. All right, cool. Let's move on to example 1. Okay. Here we go. So we're just going to kind of go through this process again. So we are trying to figure out what C is equal to. I like that color. It's very, very pretty. Okay, so we need to get C by itself, but there's 9C plus 3. And so remember this little bit here, this is going to stay together till the very end. So that means we have to get rid of this 3 first. And it's related to the C through addition, so we're going to do the inverse operation, which would be subtraction. We're going to subtract 3 to both sides. We end up with those cancel. 9C. Make sure you try to keep your equal signs lined up. Keeps everything neat and tidy. 39 minus 3 would be 36. Okay, now it is time to get the C by itself. So it's 9C, which is 9 times C. We have to do the inverse operation of multiplication, which would be division. We're going to divide both sides by 9. We end up with C equals 36 divided by 9 would be 4. Perfecto. Okay, let's go ahead and check it. So when we check, we have to write that original equation. Write the original equation. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, then we're going to substitute 4 in for C. So we have 9, not C, but 4. 9 times 4 plus 3 equals 39. And I'm trying to keep these equal signs lined up and write everything nice. So just order of operations, we have multiplication and addition. Order of operations says we have to do this multiplication first. 9 times 4 is 36 plus 3 equals 39. And then 36 plus 3 is 39. So this is a true statement. Woohoo! Okay, all right, moving on to example 1B. Let's go ahead and do this one. Ooh, this one's a little different. They're throwing some negatives at us, but I think we can do it. I think it. Okay, got to get M by itself. Okay, right here we have negative 4M minus 6. So we need to get M by itself. It's not by itself. However, there's this little bit right here, and we're going to keep that together till the final bitter end. So we're going to get rid of this part on the outside. Minus 6, that's related to M through subtraction. So we're going to do the inverse operation, which would be addition of both sides. Okay, cool. Those cancel. We're left with negative 4M. And then we have negative 34 plus 6. Okay, this is a negative. This is a positive. The signs are different. So we take the difference. So we need to take the difference. I'm going to go over to my side little piece right here. 34 minus 6. Need to find the difference between those two numbers. I got to borrow. Make that a 2. 14 take away 6 is 8. Drop the 2 down. We got 28. And then I look at, so I know it's going to be 28. I look at both of the numbers, 34 and 6, independently of their sign. Which number is bigger? 34 is bigger, and it's negative. So my answer is going to be negative right there. Okay, cool. Now we just need to determine what M is. Okay, so M is not by itself, so we can't figure it out. So we have to, what's around M? Well, negative 4. Okay, now this isn't minus 4, this is a negative 4. And the negative 4 is related to M through multiplication because it's just right there. So negative 4 times N. So the inverse of inverse operation of multiplication would be division. So we have to divide by whatever this is, and this is a negative 4. So we divide by negative 4 and divide by negative 4. So right over here, a negative divided by a negative, remember that's a positive. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 1 times n is just m. Did I say n? Maybe I did, sorry. It's m. And then we have over here, negative divided by a negative is going to be a positive. 28 divided by 4 is 7. So I like to say m equals 7. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to go over here and do the check, see if we're right. And we are going to write the, drum roll please. Yes, the original equation first. Negative 34 equals negative 4m minus 6. Perfect. We're going to stick 7 in for m. So we have negative 34 equals negative 4 times 7 minus 6. Okie dokie. We're going to work, I'm sorry for saying that. I don't know where that came from. Okay, cool. So now we have order of operations. We have negative 4 multiplied by 7, and then we have subtracted by 6. So the multiplication is going to happen first with the order of operations. Negative 4 times 7 is negative 28, because a negative times a positive is a negative. 4 times 7 is 28. All right. Yes. So there we go. This is simplified on this side, so I don't really need to do anything with this negative 34, except just keep writing it. Okay, so I have a negative 28 minus 6. So this is negative and this is negative. They're both negative. So when they both have the same sign, what we do is we add them together and keep the sign. So I'm going to go over here on the side and go 28 plus 6. 8 plus 6 is 14. Write the 4, carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. So it's 34. And since they're both negative, we add them and keep the sign. So it's going to be negative 34 equals negative 34, which is a true statement, which means that the answer that we found and we stuck into that original equation is correct. Woohoo! Woohoo! Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, too much. Now it is your time. This is your time to check it out. So I want you to go ahead and work on check it out 1A and check it out 1B. And where's our friend? Oh, here's the pause dragon, reminding you to pause your device. And then when you get done with those, press play and come back and we'll talk about it. Make sure that you solve and also check the answer by hand and write the original equation. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, see you in a bit. Write the original equation on your checks. All right, we are back. Let's go ahead and see how you did. So we're trying to figure out what C is. Right here, get C by itself, but we have this 7 times C plus 6. So this is the part that we have to keep together, and we have to get rid of this 6 first. So the inverse operation of addition would be subtraction. We're going to subtract to both sides. So those cancel. We're left with 7C equals 48 minus 6. What is that? 48 minus 6. That's 8 minus 2. 4. 42. Okay. And then we're still trying to figure out what C is. It's 7C, which means 7 times C, which means you have to do the inverse operation of multiplication, which would be division to both sides. So we end up with C equals 42 divided by 7, which is 6. Perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and do our check, and we're going to write our original equation. If you don't have your original equation, write it. Write it, and you should have it. Okay, we're subbing in 6 for C, substituting. Okay, and then we're just doing the order of operations. So we have multiplication, addition. We're doing the multiplication first. 7 times 6 is 42, plus 6 equals 48. And 42 plus 6, 2 plus 6 is 8, so it's going to be 48. So if you got 48 equals 48, good job. All right, perfect, 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 perfect. Okay, let's go on to check it out. Which means that our answer, this is the correct answer. That's what this means. We got a true statement, which means this is the right answer. This is the solution to this equation, C equals 6. Okay, moving on to check it out 1B. Let's see how you did. So here we are trying to isolate M and get M by itself. There's a couple different things going on. So we are going to keep this together till the bitter end. Okay, so we need to get rid of this 8. This is a minus 8. It's subtracted by 8, so we got to do the inverse operation of subtraction, which would be addition. We're going to add 8 to both sides. Those cancel. We're left with negative 6m equals, and then we have a negative 50 plus 8. So this is a negative, this is a positive. The signs are different, so we need to take the difference between those two. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to figure out what's the difference between 50 and 8. Okay, I'm going to have to borrow, make that a 4. 10 take away 8 is 2, and that's 4. So it's going to be 42. Then I look at the numbers 50 and 8. Which number is bigger? 50 is bigger and 50 is negative, which means 42 is negative. So boom, there we go. Negative 6m equals 42. So we're still trying to get m by itself. We need to isolate it. That means we need to get rid of this negative 6. Negative 6 is related to m through multiplication. So we have to do the inverse operation of multiplication, which would be division by negative 6 to both sides. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times m is m. Over here, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. 42 divided by 6 is 7. So yeah, there we have it. M equals 7, but we are not done because we have to check our answer, which means we have to write the original equation, which I know that all of you have on your paper. Okay, and then we're just going to substitute 7 in for m. So negative 6, I'm substituting it in, so I'm going to put it in parentheses. Minus 8 equals negative 50. I'm making sure all my equal signs are lined up. Over here, order of operations, I have multiplication and I have subtraction. So I have a negative 6 times 7. A negative times a positive is going to be a negative. 6 times 7 is 42. Minus 8 equals negative 50. Now I'm right here. I have a negative 42 and a negative 8, or 42 minus 8, which means that 8 is negative. So I have a negative and a negative. So whenever I have these two negatives like this, I add the numbers together and keep the negative. So my answer is going to be negative 42 plus 8. I'm just going to add those two numbers together. 42 plus 8 over here on the side. 2 plus 8 is 10. Write the 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. So it's going to be negative 50, which is the same thing as negative 50. So that's a true statement, which means our answer right over here. Oh, man, I need to do a better arrow. I'm very sorry about that arrow. That was not that good. Okay, we'll do 2 small arrows on the side. So this answer right here, m equals 7, is the correct answer to this original equation. Negative 6m minus 8 equals negative 50. All right, if you got those right, great job. So proud of you. See you next time.